Russian President Vladimir Putin's recent remarks on the New START nuclear arms control treaty mark a significant moment in global security discourse. Speaking during a strategic defense session in Moscow, Putin stated that Russia remains ready to negotiate with the United States on extending the treaty, even as Washington shows little interest in doing so. His tone was both diplomatic and assertive, suggesting openness to dialogue but also an insistence that Russia's national security would not depend on U.S. cooperation. The New START treaty, signed in 2010 by then-Presidents Barack Obama and Dmitry Medvedev, has served as a cornerstone of arms control between the world's two largest nuclear powers. It limits each side to 1,550 deployed strategic nuclear warheads and establishes verification measures to promote transparency. When the treaty was extended in 2021 for 5 more years, it was seen as a rare success in an otherwise deteriorating U.S.-Russia relationship. Now, with its expiration approaching in 2026 and geopolitical tensions at their highest in decades, the future of arms control hangs in the balance. Putin's message reflects both realism and strategic positioning. He emphasized that Russia is still committed to maintaining strategic stability and avoiding an uncontrolled nuclear buildup. "We are ready to discuss all measures that ensure global nuclear deterrence and balance," he said, reaffirming Russia's preference for predictable, verifiable limits on nuclear arsenals. However, he also made it clear that Moscow views the United States' current refusal to engage as not critical, implying that Russia can proceed confidently with its defense modernization plans without American participation. This statement serves several purposes. Domestically, it reassures the Russian public and military establishment that their country remains strong and self-sufficient. Internationally, it signals to both Washington and other global powers, including China and European nations, that Moscow seeks stability rather than escalation. Yet, by framing the U.S. stance as manageable, Putin subtly communicates that Russia's defense priorities will not be dictated by American political moods or diplomatic hesitation. Behind Putin's offer lies a complex mix of deterrence, diplomacy, and domestic politics. Russia's defense industry has undergone major modernization over the past decade, developing advanced systems such as the Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile and the Avangard hypersonic glide vehicle. These capabilities strengthen Moscow's bargaining position in any future negotiations. By expressing readiness to talk while projecting confidence in military independence, Putin aims to maintain diplomatic leverage and international legitimacy. In essence, Putin's comments convey that Russia does not seek a new arms race, but it is fully prepared for one if necessary. His measured tone suggests that while Moscow prefers mutual restraint, the future of global nuclear arms control now rests in uncertain territory. With the New START treaty set to expire in 2026, the world faces the real possibility that, for the first time since the early 1970s, the United States and Russia could operate without any legally binding limits on their nuclear arsenals. Such an outcome could lead to a dangerous return to Cold War-style competition, where nuclear deterrence depends solely on capability rather than cooperation. President Vladimir Putin's latest remarks, that Russia remains ready to talk but can proceed independently, underscore the fragile state of this delicate balance. For decades, arms control agreements between Washington and Moscow served as stabilizing mechanisms, reducing both nuclear stockpiles and the risk of miscalculation. Treaties such as SALT-I, INF, and START-I marked milestones in preventing an uncontrolled arms race. Yet, over the past decade, that architecture has steadily crumbled. The U.S. withdrawal from the INF treaty in 2019, followed by Russia's suspension of participation in New START verification measures, has left only a thin layer of trust between the two nuclear superpowers. Both nations continue to modernize their arsenals, introducing hypersonic weapons, advanced missile defense systems, and artificial intelligence-driven targeting technologies, all of which make the old rules of deterrence harder to maintain. Putin's remarks therefore carry a dual meaning. They are a diplomatic invitation, but also a warning that Russia will not be left vulnerable if Washington refuses to engage. He portrays Moscow as the rational actor willing to discuss stability, while framing the U.S. as the side politicizing arms control for strategic advantage. This narrative appeals not only to domestic audiences but also to other global powers observing the breakdown of post-Cold War order. China, for example, has been expanding its own nuclear capabilities and has shown limited interest in joining multilateral arms control efforts. Without U.S.-Russia cooperation, the international community risks entering a multipolar nuclear era with far less oversight and far greater risk. In Washington, officials remain cautious. The Biden administration and its successors have repeatedly stated that arms control cannot proceed in isolation from Russia's broader behavior, particularly its actions in Ukraine and alleged violations of existing treaties. U.S. policymakers argue that meaningful progress requires transparency, compliance, and de-escalation, conditions they say Moscow has yet to meet. For the Kremlin, however, linking arms control to political disputes undermines the principle of strategic stability, which should, in Russia's view, transcend momentary conflicts. This impasse highlights the broader erosion of trust that defines U.S.-Russia relations today. While both sides understand the catastrophic consequences of a renewed arms race, neither appears willing to make the furs.